Hello and welcome to 30 Minutes. I'm Joe Donovan.
I'm Karl Humphries, and tonight's show I'm going to be speaking with Rod Langway, former Randolph High star, current Washington Capitals all-star defenseman.
So please stay with us.
Okay, we're at the Randolph Arena tonight, and we're going to be speaking with Rod Langway, who's back in town. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you very much.
And he's running his hockey camp. How many years has this been going now for you?
Oh, I think it's about 8 years now. Since I was in Montreal, it was my first year, and then when I got traded, I started up even more, and it's gone pretty well for us.
Now, Randolph, over the years, has turned out a lot of great athletes and teams. You're probably the most renowned as far as coming from Randolph and getting ahead with a professional career. What memories do you, when you come into the arena here, what do you think back on?
Really not much. I just remember, a lot of good moments, but it's just, the guys I play with and what they're doing, because now I'm teaching their sons, in the game, and I played 3 sports, so really, just the town itself, how much has changed and what's going on in it, but it's a lot different from when I was here about 15 or 13 years ago, so it's changed quite a bit.
You see a lot of your friends around town when you're here?
No, most of them just moved away. I think a lot of the kids are out of town and married different girls from the area, and in the summer most people move, go on vacation, so I'm in a bad situation there. But when I come to Boston and play the Bruins, I see a lot of the guys that are around.
How often do you get back to Randolph? Is this your annual visit?
This is it.
Your family isn't in town?
Yeah, my brother Clyde's living in my family home, and he's lived there with Cheryl White, and yeah, it's just, I see them once in a while, but they come down to DC once in a while, and they're busy, and like anything else, you live your own life, but I've been away so long that you lose contact with a lot of people.
Let's talk about your career a little bit. Now, you got out of Randolph in what, class of '75, was it? And then you went up to UNH, and actually you went up there to play football.
Well,
was it football and hockey?
I think it was a situation where I decided on, when I was recruited, I had 5 options to go to different schools. The NCAA rules were that you could visit 5 schools, and UNH was the last school I visited, and it was the closest school that I decided to go to because they gave me the option to play in both sports. BC was one school, but the football program was going so high in Division I that you knew I was going to miss about 8 to 10 games in college hockey, so just decided to go to a small school, a state school, and I was very lucky to do that. And I was on a football scholarship.
You were a 3-sport all-scholastic, football, hockey, and baseball at Randolph High. And then, as I say, you tried playing football and hockey, but the seasons do overlap when you get into the college career. I also had heard that, of course, you were a quarterback at Randolph, and then they switched you over to a middle linebacker up at UNH. Did that influence your decision at all?
No, not really. My freshman year when I was up there, I separated my shoulder, and I got operated on my right shoulder, so I'd never played my freshman year of football. I got redshirted, and I went right into hockey, and I didn't have a great season. I just more or less a learning process, and then I played spring football, and I played quarterback in spring football, but at the time I was at UNH, there was an All-American quarterback named Steve Allen that was, it's got all the records up to UNH at passing, and I knew I was going to beat him out, but I was a good enough athlete that they wanted me to play. So they put me on the outside linebacker, and I started as a freshman, which was my sophomore year of schooling. So it turned out well, but the coaching staff thought if I stuck with football, I had an opportunity to play in professional football too.
Thinking back over your career now, you've been in professional hockey for what, 4 years with Montreal and 7 years now with Washington, and then a year or so with Birmingham of the what was it, the WHL?
WHA.
WHA. Okay.
Defunct.
Defunct, yeah. Thinking back over your professional career, now, do you know, and taking into consideration the salaries like the basketball and football and baseball players are making nowadays, do you have any regrets going into hockey?
No, I think, believe it or not, hockey, professional hockey, the lifespan is a lot longer than the normal sports, the three other sports, basketball, football, and baseball. But the salaries of basketball, there's only 12 players that are making good money. Well, really 4 players are making $1 million a year, and then you get baseball. How many baseball players are there in the country? There's quite a few. And then, what is it? The football program, or the professional football, is that you don't know when you're going to ruin your career. The lifespan is like, what, 2 years for a running back, 3 years for a quarterback, and injuries they go down real quick in football. So I'm pretty lucky with hockey. Hockey right now is 7 years. If you make it as a hockey player, you last 7 years as an average, and that's a pretty good lifespan for an athlete.
Now, I should also mention, besides your outstanding high school career, you've been a Norris Trophy winner, which is for the best defenseman in the NHL, 2 years, 82-83 and 83-84. And you've been an NHL All-Star, what, 7 years? Now, how much, here again, as far as your career goes, now, how much longer do you feel you'll be able to play?
Well, I'll play as long as they want me to play.
You have a lifetime contract, I understand it, with Washington.
Yeah, it's more or less a career contract, but again, you have options here and there in a contract. That's why you pay a lawyer to take care of yourself. But
well, when you say a career contract, is this like Doug Flutie? Doug Flutie had a personal services contract?
No, I have a normal NHL contract, but once they decide that I can't play, or I decide that I'm not helping myself or helping the team, that my contract's over. Financially, I'm sound, so I'm not worrying about it. But right now, I look at guys like Larry Robinson just signed a 2-year contract, so I'm just going at it, year by year, and just hopefully stay healthy.
Well, I was going to also bring up Larry Robinson, former teammate with Montreal. Now he's gone out to LA, land of the sunshine, to play with Gretzky, which doesn't hurt. Bob Gainey just retired. Guy Lafleur was retired, and he's recently come back, and I understand now he's gone from New York up to Quebec with Michael Bergeron, his coach. Any thoughts? What do you think back to your days in Montreal? Because you mentioned Montreal and the Boston area, and the dreaded Canadians.
Well, it's just it was a great place to start playing hockey.
You won a Stanley Cup championship with them.
Yeah, I believe it or not, those players you're talking about, Larry Robinson, Serge Savard, Guy Lapointe, Bob Gainey, and Guy Lafleur, Jacques Lemaire. Those are the players that taught me how to play the game at a professional level, and it was a great way to break in. And you're talking about Montreal Canadiens, you're talking about the Mecca of hockey. It's a different lifestyle. It's hockey 12 months out of the year, and if you play bad, you know it. And the fans and the people in the organizations tell you. And you got to stay on top of yourself. You can't screw around. You can't spend nights at bars or this or that. You got to be in top shape all year long. They're going to find out one way or the other, because hockey is the life of the Canadians and the life of Montreal, the city itself.
When the day does come that your career is winding down, what are you looking to do in the future? Any thoughts?
Well, I'm gonna stay in the game. I've put too much into the game not to stay in it, to teach the kids and future pros. Hopefully, I don't think I can be a high school or college coach. I think I've been into the pros too much, and it's an easier way to coach a player that knows what's going on than to teach the little kids and get frustrated with them. And the money's great, and I've met so many people in the league that it's stupid to come down a step than to stay right where I am.
So you'd like to go into coaching or management? You don't know yet?
No, I think I don't want to be a head coach. I think I want to be like a assistant coach where I can grab a guy and show him what he's doing wrong. And more or less, most of the defensemen. I think I pride myself on playing defensive hockey and defensive defensemen. There's not that many around. But if you're a good one, you can last a long time in this league, and there's scarce, believe it or not.
Well, I want to ask you about some of the players in the league, but before that, I'd like to get your feelings on, of course, the doors are opening now. Some of the Soviets are coming over here to play. I guess Calgary has signed a Soviet, and Vancouver, and I believe New Jersey has 2 that will be coming in the fall. What is the feeling amongst the NHLers, your contemporaries is, of course we've had some Czechoslovakians playing, we've had a lot of Swedes. You think there'll be any animosity with the Soviets coming over here to play?
Well, they had that when the Americans started breaking into the NHL, believe it or not. It took so many years that there wasn't only 1 or 2 Americans playing in the NHL. Now we have about 40 or 50, and now the Swedes about 20, Czechs about 10, Russians it might be about 8 this year.
Yeah, you're talking 8 players, 10 players or percentage. You're talking players, yeah. Well, why don't you give us an idea? Like, you were one of the early Americans that made it. What was it like? I mean, would guys take that little extra run at you, do you think? Or?
Well, like any profession, I think they challenge you right off the bat and see what you're all about. I think if you back down, you're going to make it a lot tougher. But it's going to be a tough situation for a lot of the Russians, but I was talking to some scouts and people I know that they're as tough as anyone. They can fight. They were always told not to fight, but they can handle themselves. To play hockey, you always have a stick in your hand so you can protect yourself no matter what happens. But I mean, the European players have always been here, and there's a lot of feelings about that because they don't come to play all the time. But that's on a normal feeling, I think, across the league where they have outstanding talent and they're paying extremely high premiums and they don't come to play all the time because of the length of the schedule and they're not used to it and the roughness, and the rinks are so small. Yeah. I think the Russian players will be more dominant than the other European players. I think they're more NHL style playing. I think they practice almost 11 months out of the year because of the Army situation over there, and I'm looking forward to playing against them. I played against them for 15, 20 times already, so I know them. I know the guys that are coming over, and I think it's going to be good for hockey, and that's what I think the majority of the players are looking for, is good hockey.
Well, they'll push you a little more. You're not fearful of them. As you say, you've played them in a number of Canada's Cups and All-Star games and so forth.
Well, it's just a case where they're not going to be together. I would like to see what they do with other American players and Canadian players on their team and see what happens when they, try to associate and travel the way we do and have the freedom that they didn't have in Russia.
Because basketball, I guess a few of them are also getting into basketball now, which we should also mention. But what about the language barrier? Will that create a problem? Now, you're an American, you speak English, you went up to Canada. Of course, most of the fellows up there speak French. And now you're going to have, some Swedes, and you'll have the Czechs, and you've got the Soviets. I know I played soccer myself on a semi-pro level, and we had a lot of different fellows, Greeks, Portuguese, and geez, you get out on the field, and nobody knew what the heck was, saying to each other.
I think the communication's a problem once in a while, but they learn real quick what to say, and more or less they pick up the slangs very easily. The Russians, I know 6 of them that are coming over that can speak fluent English, so that's not going to be a problem. But talking to them in Russia might be difficult because you want to make them feel at home. When I was up in Canada, everyone spoke English. Scotty Bowen was a coach, and he was fluent in French, but everyone spoke English, so there's no big problem. They can communicate one way or the other, and if you have problems, they work things out.
Will you be playing for the Olympics now?
No, I doubt that. No. If in '92, if I'm still playing, I'm going to stay playing. But if I'm not, I was talking to somebody the other day about maybe coaching, be assistant coach or something like that for them.
You like that?
Well, if it's open. It's open.
Yeah, now they play a regular. They used to be years ago. They threw together a team and they played a few exhibition games. Now they're actually trying to play a whole regular season against some of the minor league teams and the better college teams and so forth. You wouldn't mind that? You get some experience, coaching that way.
I think so. I think it's a great opportunity if it does happen. But they're going to have 3 Olympics in this decade, so it's going to be 82, 92, 94, and 98, I believe. So it's going to be interesting to see. And if there's an opening, and I know Bob Johnson very well through hockey, the Canada Cup in Calgary. So if I'm decide to retire in '92, that there is an opportunity.
Do you think we'll see an international NHL? I shouldn't say NHL, but an international league now, like with the Russians? You think we'll, maybe not in your career, but say in our lifetimes, we'll see teams over in Sweden and over in Russia playing against each other? International travel. Bad enough going to the West Coast, right?
That's tough to say. I think there might be a longer season, believe it or not. It's long right now, but I think there might be more teams traveling across. We're going to our training camp, matter of fact, is in Russia. September 5th, I leave to go to Sweden and then to Russia. So there's going to be more of a traveling span of interleagues, playing each other, teams traveling once a year over there and getting more of a feel of each other. But believe it or not, I've been talking to some cable TV that they're talking about sending games over here and NHL games going over there and having like a pay TV like they do in boxing. And
in other words, we'd see some Soviet games, their league over there.
They will see ours.
Vice versa.
Because of the satellite situation, because of the technologies that we have in these days. It's going to be interesting. It's a money situation where the league will make money, the federation will make money, and again, I think the whole idea right now is to keep the game strong, as the outlook of people and the style of play. You see all the violence. We're trying to get the violence out of the game with the fighting and the sick incidents, and it's worked out pretty well.
I was going to ask you, that was another question. How do you feel? Because you're an aggressive player, but you're not a fighter. Like, I'll drop some names myself. I know you won't want to. Chris Nyland, Torrey Robinson, Jay Miller, ex with the Bruins. Now, what is is this what the fans want to see? Or, I mean, these guys are not great hockey players. I mean, are they actually brought in to protect like a Gretzky or a Lemieux?
Well, there's no doubt about it. That's part of the game, the intimidation part of it. But I think the league is filtering those players out.
You believe they're trying to do that? Yeah. Seriously, or do they talk about it?
They talk about it. It's a great story to say it, but you look at what's going on. I know Chris Nyland very well because I play with him in Montreal. He can play the game, but he's an aggressive, high-strung player when he gets on the ice, and he can drop his glove with the best of them.
Well, I mentioned him because there's a rumor the Bruins. He would like to come to the Bruins to finish his career. And
who wouldn't? A Boston kid coming back home would be great for him. And matter of fact, I named one of my kids after him, so that's how close we are. But Jay Miller, he's filtering through. I mean, you can't complain. He's played in the league for 6 or 7 years now, and he's made a good living. But he paid a lot of prices. You look at his knuckles; they're all broken up from fighting. It's a tough life for those guys, and I think they're honest players. The guys that we want to get rid of are the guys that are with the sticks, that are trying to cut your eyes out and cut you with the sticks and try to, like guys like Sundstrom and Sandstrom from Rangers. They're vicious with their sticks, and they're unnoticed by the fan point, but the players that are playing against them, they know it. And same thing with Hextall. I mean, something's got to be done with him, and he's got a 12-game suspension right off the bat.
The goalie for Philadelphia Flyers.
There's no need for that, and it's just bad PR for hockey.
So you would like to see them do away with some of that. I mean, it's a chippy game. You always basketball, they say, is a non-contact sport, but the fists fly on occasion. But not like hockey. Hockey, the guys, the guys out there just strictly to take a run at the other fellas.
Well, it's not taking a run. It's more or less if you try to intimidate our better players, we'll take care of you. It's not that, oh, you're a tough guy, I'm a tough guy, let's go at it. That's what usually happens. But if a tough guy goes after a Gretzky, Jay Miller and 3 other players are going to be after you real quick.
It's funny now, like I go into the bean pot quite often. And, you know, you watch the college game. I went to Northeastern myself, so I'm familiar with Chris Nyland also. But you go to the college games, and you don't see that too many fights. Like, on occasion, somebody will throw a fist or something, but it's more facing each other down than actually going at each other. What is it that once you get into the pros,
well,
you know, this...
Fighting's legal in the pros. You fight twice, you fight once in college hockey, you're gone. The second time, you're gone for the year. That's a different aspect.
So it's the penalty, yeah.
In the ruling. I think in professional hockey, it's part of the game.
You see some good hockey on the college level. Hockey East out in the Western League there.
It's a different style of hockey. I think probably the worst thing that ever happened was the mask. I believe that 100%. I think they get rid of the mask, and not the young kids, but the older kids. Once they hit high school and college, get rid of the mask.
Oh, you're talking about the clear face masks now.
The cages or whatever, get rid of them.
For the players, not the goalies, the skaters, yeah. Well, now, didn't they just institute a new penalty that if somebody wearing a face mask...
that doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything.
On paper. If they instigate a fight, they get an extra 2-minute minor.
I don't mind the eye, shielding the eyes for, getting injured with the eyes. But the cages I'm talking about college hockey mostly, and now in junior hockey they got rid of the cages. Now you can wear a shield. So it's a little bit different. I mean, I see a lot of junior hockey when I'm up in Canada. So it's a different atmosphere. It's a different style than high school and college hockey around here. And that's why a lot of the scouts favor Canadian hockey because of the style, because it's more of a professional hockey.
Okay, before we wrap it up here, let me just ask you about the team, your team itself. Let me ask you this: are there any teams in the league that you yourself, or as the Washington Capitals, like to see come into town, and others that you don't like to see?
Well,
there's a difference in style. Now, Montreal, they play a tight game. So, I don't know, how does your team stack up as like to Montreal as opposed to like L.A. or Pittsburgh, who play a more wide open game?
Well, I think our team is more or less of Montreal Canadian style. We play extremely well against Montreal. I think last year we beat them twice and lost to them once. We have a tough time with Boston. We beat them pretty good in Boston this year, but we always have a great game in D.C. against Boston. Our style is defensive-minded. Our defense, as a core, I would say we're probably the best in the league. Now I might be prejudiced about that, but we're up there. Calgary is the elite of the team right now. Calgary and Montreal. Us, I would say most of our division, the Patrick division, was us, Pittsburgh, New York Rangers, New York Islanders, Philly. There's some great teams in our division, and to get out of a division, there's a lot of bruises coming off you, and we have a tough time then facing, let's say, a Montreal that's rested for like a week and going against them, and they showed it against Philly. I mean, they were so rested against Philly that they just outskated them.
You mentioned New York and yourself in Pittsburgh. Now, what about, I'll ask you, Detroit. Now, if these guys could get their heads screwed on straight, they've got a lot of potential up there, don't they?
I think they're in a rebuilding year. I think they peaked about 2 years ago. I think Yzerman, in my opinion, this year should be the MVP. Gretzky had a great year, but Yzerman is an elite player that, with no supporting cast, he had a super year. I seen him do so many things that was incredible, and with all the things that were going on with Probert and Kleemer, you knew they wouldn't do that well in the playoffs, and they have a great coach. I love Demers. I think he's great.
It's a shame that a player like Yzerman is sort of penalized because of this is where the team element comes in.
How many players around the league in any sport have the same problem? I mean, that's what the organizations are paid for, the GM and the president, to go after players that can support that great player that they have, and Detroit will come along. I mean, they've got some good draft picks. They get some good young players in the minors. They're going to be reckoned with. I mean, they got some solid goaltending. St. Louis, they have the unknown team of the league, and they always come up with a good bunch of guys that can play the game in and game out.
Edmonton on the skids?
What I understand, yeah, they're what's going on in the papers and the great players that they have, they might have peaked a little bit early, and some of the players want to retire, they want to move on. They know where the money is, and that's in the States, and their buddy Gretzky opened the door for everyone, and that's what's going on right now.
Grant Furr, their goalie, great goalie, is retired, but now there's a rumor or speculation that New Jersey wants to pick him up. I read to a couple of teams that are interested in trying to pick him up because he's looking for big money.
I always say don't believe the papers, so until it happens, then believe it. But
now there's also a rumor going around. Of course, let me ask you about the Bruins now. The coaching change with Mike Milbury. Mike Milbury grew up in the area. You played against him. Now he's going to be a coach for the team. How do you think the Bruins? What do you think of that coaching change?
Well, I wish Mike, well. I mean, I don't know how well he did with the Maine Mariners or whatever, but for 1 year coaching and then jumping into the NHL is a big jump. I was a big fan of Terry O'Reilly's, and I know Cunliffe, who's assistant coach, John, very well, and
a local,
Southie boy, and he's a great guy. I mean, he's a great coach. The changes they've made, it might hurt them. I think because I think they're on the spurs of making a couple of changes here and there. Linsman's older, Borky's getting older in his days. They're going to make some. They've got to make some changes, and if they think it's a coaching, it doesn't really work that way.
Well, what's kind of funny to me is right after they inserted Milbury into the head coaching job, then they went out and picked up Ted Sater, who was released or let go by the Buffalo Sabres.
Oh, Ted's a great guy. I had Ted in the Canada Cup, and
he's been a head coach now for a lot of years. Now he's coming in as an assistant coach on the Milbury.
Yeah, I think Ted's going to help them. He's had a tough time with Buffalo. There's a team that's is unique with the personality they have. But I know Gordy Clark's a UNH grad, so I know Gordy real well. But they're going to have some good coaches. There's no doubt. But the professional level is a lot different than the American Hockey League.
Yeah. Now, there's a rumor also going around that you mentioned Ray Bourque's getting a little long in the tooth, shall we say, and of course the Bruins are looking for some goal scorers here. Two people I want to bring up. Your former teammate, Bobby Carpenter, but also now there's the rumor going around that Jimmy Carson, who got traded in the Gretzky deal up to Edmonton, now he wants to come back to the States, as you mentioned. Now there's some speculation going around that there might be a possible move made there, Carson and Bourque. Bruins definitely need some scoring. You agree?
Yeah, they probably do, but you never trade a Bourque. I don't care who you are. That guy is Ray's one of a million. He's a great hockey player, and he's a franchise player. You don't trade him for nothing.
As you say, you can't believe the rumors on the press, but I think that the feeling is, was it Blake Wesley? No. They figure will come along and replace Bourque. I don't know. Is he a Bourque type player?
No, I don't think so. No. I don't know Blake that well, and I don't see him enough to really judge him in that.
He's not a franchise player.
He might be a good player, but he's not a great player.
Now what about Bobby Carpenter? I know I don't like to get you dropping names here, but he was a former teammate of yours. He scored 53 goals back in, about 84? 83, 84? Somewhere, yeah. Now he's been with several teams. What do you think his problem is, and you think he'll be able to contribute anything? I think what the Bruins are looking for from him is like a 25 to 30 goal season.
Well, there's no doubt he's got the talent to do it. He's been labeled, his label right now is a bad label. I mean, he's in a situation now, he's got to have a great year. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's got to come in the best shape he can possibly come in and play 80 games. He's got to worry about the team instead of himself. I know him pretty well. I played with him for, 5, 6 years, and I had no problem with Bobby. I mean, a lot of situations when he got traded, there's a lot of speculation that he was a bad person. He's a Boston kid, and Boston kids, they're different. We have an attitude. There's no doubt about Boston people that around the country, they know who Boston people are, and Bobby's just one of them. You got to accept what he is. If not, you're going to dislike him.
Well, last 50-goal scorer for the Bruins was Rick Middleton back in, 80, 81, somewhere around there. So they definitely need some help on the offensive end. Let me just ask you one more question about the American kids. Are they going to continue to make inroads into the NHL?
Oh, there's going to be more and more each year. There's no doubt about it.
Have you seen this Rennick from Jeremy Rennick from Marshfield, I guess? Yeah. He came up with Chicago towards the end of the year.
Well, matter of fact, one of the coaches here, Jack Foley, coached him at their academy. So I saw him in Chicago, and matter of fact, he got a goal and 2 assists against us. So he's going to be he's a franchise player. Now, there's a kid that if he has his head on right, and he'll probably take Dennis Sfard's spot in a couple years, and he'll run Chicago. There's so many great American players that's coming out, and they're all young and they're spunky, but do they have the heart and I should support that they need to make it as superstars? We'll find out later on.
Okay, I just want to mention that Rod is involved down in the Washington area with the Say No to Drugs campaign, and I guess I understand you've been involved with several of the presidents that have been in office since you've been down there. You want to tell us a little about that?
Well, it's just I think the NHL started a program, Say No to Drugs, and Mrs. Reagan wanted myself and Wayne Gretzky to support it from the Canadian side and the American side, and she wanted the local kids, so they picked me. And then the RCMP up in Montreal, I'm real good friends with them. That they have the same program, which was even earlier than Nancy's, that more or less the same thing, Say No to Drugs, and I've been involved with that for about, 9 years now. So it's still a big part, and I know what it can do to you, so
it's a big problem.
It's a big problem. It's hopefully it will get a lot better. I think the kids now and the education part of it is in the schools at this time. But hey, I mean, you see all the TV publicity and how good a drug dealer makes and all this stuff. It's tough for kids to make a decision. You got 14, 15-year-old kids dealing drugs on the street, and they got $1,000 in their pockets. It looks tempting, but it's up, I think it's up to the parents and, the peers to turn it down, and you can do so much. And if the kid makes a bad turn, hopefully you can get him out of it.
I don't know if our viewers can see, but Rod's wearing his cap here with the United States Secret Service, so we can all feel secure.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe where I got it.
Story behind that?
There's a big story.
All right, we'll let it go at that. And Rod, I want to thank you for coming over and spending some time with us, and I want to wish you the best of luck on the upcoming season and the rest of your career.
Oh, thank you.
And we'll let you go, and your kids are anxious to
make my money.
See what you can do.
Yeah.
All right, Rod, thanks for joining us.
And the interview with Langway, boy, what a player.
Yeah, I want to thank Rod for taking the time out from his hockey camp to spend some time with us. And I know he enjoyed being back in Randolph, seeing some of his friends. And kids look real excited, and we hope you enjoyed it.
Please join us again for another edition of 30 Minutes.